Okay, we just now turned on the recording. I always forget to do that. How's everyone doing? Everyone's good? We have about 13 people here.
Yes. Should we mute if you're recording?
Oh, great. Thank you. So I'm just going to give you everyone an overview, and then the way this is going to work is I'll start with the overview, and then before we get into it, I'll kind of leave it open if anyone wants to ask questions. But then once I start, I'm going to put the conference in lecture mode, which means that no one can hear anyone except for me. So I'll do each section, and after each section, and they're relatively short sections. And after each section, I'll stop for questions, and I'll open it back up, and then I can go anywhere you want, click anything you want, just let me know, and I'll do it. And that way you can ask questions for that particular section, and then I'll go into the next section and so forth. So does anyone have any questions before we get started?
Yes, I do. This is Alternative Choices. And we're not having any... Hi. We don't have any visual on our screen. Should we have a program up, or?
You actually won't have a visual yet. Let me...
Okay, very good.
What does it say? Does it say waiting for presenter?
Yes.
Yeah, you should see my screen pop up right now.
Yes. Okay, we're good.
Okay. Yeah, I almost got started without showing you my screen, so thanks. The little things that matter. Seeing someone's screen during the webinar is probably important. Okay, so you might see that it'll say Larissa. I am not Larissa, but I am logged into the tool as Larissa, so generally you won't see that up there otherwise. Surprised it even shows that. I'm also going to be doing the whole webinar from our test system. So if you see your agency's information, or you see a service that may not exist anymore, or if there's bad data, it might have already been corrected. The test system has a lot of user information from the beginning when we were first setting up, a lot of stuff from the information that was sent to us, but a lot of it has been cleaned up on the live system that all of you will be accessing. The reason I'm doing it on the test system is I can create fake clients and I can make fake referrals, and I don't have to worry about it affecting I don't have to worry about you guys getting emails or anything like that. So currently I am logged in as one of the agencies, just to show you an example of how an agency would be using this. That's the whole point of this. So are there any other questions before I get started? Okay, so the first thing I'm going to start with is creating a referral. And I'm going to create a referral and show you how that process goes. I'm going to do it relatively fast, so don't worry about if there's something that you missed. I will open up for questions. You can feel free to ask questions, but I will do the referral process again with a little bit more detail the second time around. After I do that the first time, I will show you how to manage incoming referrals. After that, we will show you how the system works as far as the data for your agency and the data that you have to maintain to make sure everything is accurate and to make sure you are receiving good referrals. And then after that section, we will create the referral from scratch again, and I'll do it a little bit more in depth that time. So there's only 4 pieces that we're going through, and 2 of those are the same. So it's relatively intuitive. That's what we're trying to keep it. So I am going to get started here. So when you first log into the system, you're going to see a screen that looks very similar to this, the search for services. And when you log into the system, you're going to be acting as your agency, staff for your agency. So when you do anything beyond the search, you're going to be doing it on behalf of your agency. The search, however, works the same way across all agencies. So I'm going to create a referral from scratch. Think about if you have a client with you or you have a client on the phone and they need some services. you're going to be on this screen and you're going to be looking for those services for them. So actually, before I do that, I want to make sure this is empty. Yep, it's empty. Okay. Go back to Find Services. So from the Search for Services screen, if you notice, I clicked this first button here, Find Services. You have two different ways to search for services. You can use the search criteria on the left side. I can type in a service. So I typed in transportation. I can specify my county. The counties that will come back are counties that the services are provided in. So if I live in Calhoun County, I'm only going to see services that are provided for Calhoun County. Same thing, the zip code actually is a little different. The zip code is based on geography. So if I'm going to type in what I would type in is the client's zip code here, and then based on your radius, you'll see the search results within the miles that your client is willing to travel. So obviously, if I'm looking for transportation, generally that means that your client doesn't have the ability to travel very far. So you probably want to open it up to a little bit wider radius, but that's all dependent on where you're on how the service works, of course. Veteran and age is based on eligibility on the client information as well, and we'll get into that more later. So far, all I've done is typed in transportation. I haven't done anything else. I've just gone to the Find Services and typed in transportation. I'm going to click Go. And when I scroll down here, you'll see that here are my results. And because I didn't type in any other search criteria, I'm going to see a lot of different results for transportation. And what that's going to do is allow me to see all the different services that are available in the wider area. And I can narrow my search again by selecting a county or a zip code. But for now, I'm going to select the first one, and I'm going to put this in my folder. So if you notice that I get a little brief overview, snapshot of the service that I have selected on the right side, it shows me my selected services. So think of this like a Amazon shopping cart or a shopping website shopping cart, where you're able to put things in your cart that stay with you. You can edit your cart later. So that's the first service I've selected. I've selected Marion Birch Adult Daycare Center Occupational Therapy. And so the next thing I'm going to do is use the service categories to navigate to the next service I want. So I want housing, in-home services, that's what I'm looking for. And I want home maintenance services or homemaker assistance. Do we have any home? Yes, we have home maintenance services. Senior Services, Inc. has home maintenance services. Here's some basic information about it. And I'm going to click Select Service to add that to my cart on the right side, or we call this your folder. If you notice, there's a little folder at the top of the screen. It doesn't want me to click on it without. There you go. There's my folder. So I have 2 items in my folder, and let's select another one. If we needed some financial services, how do I find financial services? Because that's in the first list, I believe. Financial, in alphabetical order. And I'm going to look for tax aid. So if I scroll down, Portage Senior Center as AARP tax aid service, I'm going to select that. So now I have 3 services in my folder, and now I am done finding services. From what I've heard, sitting with my client, these are the 3 things that they need that my agency does not offer. So I am referring these services. I'm referring my client out to these agencies for their services. So I can proceed, I can continue searching. I can continue searching using either, I've done it both ways now. I've typed in to find services, or I've used the buttons to drill down to find services. Either way, you'll find the same services. And as you can see, I have 3 items here. So I can click to proceed. I can click this button here that says Create Referral. But I have to be on the screen to click that. I could be on any other screen, I could be in any other one of these screens and still proceed to create the referral by clicking my folder, similar to a shopping cart. You'll go into what my folder is. I'm going to see my selected services at the top, and there's my 3 services that I had selected. And then further down is my, I still have yet to look up my client. So my client either already exists in the system, so I will do just a search, or I would add the client on the right side. So first things first, I'm going to do a search. I don't want to add the client to the system if they don't already exist. Now, for the pilot, every agency, every staff member at every agency who has access to the system has access to all the clients that have been created across all agencies. So, so if I type in Smith, I'm going to see all the Smiths that have been created in the system. The reason why I mentioned that in the pilot you see all clients is because there's been conversations of restricting the access to seeing the client information until after the pilot. So there might be some changes there. For now, you'll see all clients that have been created. So if there's a Susan Smith, you want to make sure to verify the other information that you see. If their address doesn't match, then that might be a different Susan Smith. So I'm going to go with Sam Smith and say I typed in Smith. I wanted Sam Smith. So I've clicked Sam Smith, and now that I have my services at the top and my client selected at the bottom, even further down I have a little checkbox that popped up, client has agreed to share data. I cannot proceed without getting verbal confirmation from my client that they are okay with me sharing their information to a different agency. I know that's kind of contradictory to what I said before, but keep in mind that this may change after the pilot. It is still important to make sure you have that verbal confirmation because their client profile will be shared to a different agency outside the pilot. Inside the pilot, we're just trying to follow the process and trying to learn behaviors. I'll show you what that client profile, what is in the client profile in the next section, or in 2 sections. So then the wording here might be different on the production system as well. Client has agreed to share data. It might be a little bit more elaborated on the terminology, but it's the same idea. This checkbox has to be clicked, meaning you have verbal confirmation before I can submit the referral. So all I've done so far is I've selected these referrals. I've found my client, and I've checked this checkbox that says share data. Now I'm going to submit the referral. The page is going to reload, and it is going to tell me success, your referral has been submitted. And there's some client information at the top, and the services that have been submitted are at the bottom. I can click the print button, which will create a PDF, or I can go and once you create the PDF, you can use that to print out the PDF. It's up to you once you get that nice PDF to send it to the printer, of course. And then from this page, I can go back to new referral. If I click that, it would be the same thing as clicking, why do you do that, Google Chrome. I can click Find Services at the top. That's the same effect as the button I just clicked. And now I'm back at the screen that I was when I first started. So all I did was submit a referral, and I showed you how easy it was. Now I'm going to open up for questions if anybody has any. Does anyone have any questions so far as to creating a referral? I know the system is meant to be intuitive, but is it really that intuitive? If nobody has questions, that's good, obviously. But if you have a question, don't be afraid to ask. Someone else, I'm sure, has the same question. Okay, good. Then we can quickly proceed on to the next section, and the next thing I'm going to show you is how to manage incoming referrals. So I sent out 3 referrals is what I did for Sam Smith. I sent it to 3 different agencies. Each agency received 1 referral for Sam Smith, and they went into their referral queue. So that's what I'm going to do next. Let me mute this. Okay, so next, after creating the referral, you want to go to your referral queue to manage your referrals. From time to time, you will receive notifications via email when you have new referrals or rejected referrals or referrals that need further action. Just to give you an overview of this page, I have a lot of referrals here. I should have cleaned this out, but you get the idea. There's 3 sections to this page. There's the return referrals at the top, and I have 1 return referral. I'll get more into that in a moment. After that, I have new referrals. It looks like I have about 12, 14, 15 return referrals. And then I have my open referrals as a grid at the bottom, and this is multiple pages for this table. I'm showing 5 of 7. So we're going to start at the very top, return referrals. So a return referral is basically a referral that has been rejected that I submitted, or somebody at my agency submitted. So it says I was referred on June 25th by Larissa. Again, I am logged in as Larissa. And the reject reason was no capacity. They did not have capacity for this service. And this is my client information. This is the service information at the top. So I have 2 options I can do. Before I get into that, I want to explain a little more. As Larissa, I had Christopher Lewis was my client at the time. So I could give him a call right now and go right into creating a new referral for him. But what happened was I was on the phone with him, or he was in my office, and he told me he expressed that he needed Aging and Disability Resource Center as a service, or a service from the Resource Center, and I submitted that for them, and they received it. They received it in their new referral queue here. And what they did is they clicked reject, and when they clicked reject, there was a couple options, and they said that they did not have capacity for the service, because I can see that written right here. No capacity for the service. So I can close this to get it out of my referral queue, but that doesn't help Christopher Lewis in any way. I would more likely first start with retrying. So what that does, I'm going to click that, and what that does is it puts that exact service that was rejected back with Christopher Lewis in my folder. So this screen should look slightly familiar. So I can X out the service and go find another similar service in his area and submit it to that agency, because Region 3B said that they didn't have capacity. So obviously sending it back to Region 3B is not going to do me any good. Or if there was a different reason that they may have said that they rejected it, I maybe want to pick up the phone and have a conversation with them, or have a conversation with Christopher Lewis, and then that's how you proceed. So proceeding from here, you can either hit the X to turn off, to get rid of that particular service, and I can go back to find services and go through the referral process again and find another service for Christopher Lewis and resubmit it. So let's pretend I did that. I'm coming back to the return referral screen. You'll see that Christopher Lewis, his rejected referral is still there. You do have to close him for it to go away. So when I click close, there's going to be some options. And the options are, the new referral has been submitted to a different agency. New referral is submitted to the same agency. I have explained both those options. Referral created by mistake, meaning I, as Larissa, created it by mistake, or other. Regardless of your choice, you want to type in some notes in the note box and then click submit. And what that's going to do is going to clear the return referrals from there. And I'm on the test system, and that doesn't actually clear it out on the test system. But in your live system, it would clear out that return referral. So he's still there now. But that's how you put close to get rid of them. So that's how to deal with your return referrals. If you don't have any return referrals, that means no one has rejected any of your referrals, or you haven't created any referrals. Next down are new incoming referrals. So this is the one where looks like I have a lot of work I need to do to catch up on my referrals. I will periodically receive notifications via the top of my referral queue telling me that my service profile is behind. There has a client that's been waiting for a service. this is the one I'm looking for, a client who has been waiting 20 days for service, meaning that there's a new referral here and they hasn't been responded. So I'm going to, so that they're just as reminders. So you'll get them in email and you'll get them at the top of the screen. So what I want to do is start at the top here, and they'll show it in the order that they've been received. So if I select accept for Sam, I mean, you get some basic information on the new incoming referrals. I have two actions I can complete. I can accept it, and accepting it will put them in my open referral queue. The page is going to refresh, and it actually worked that time. So I'm going to accept another one. And so it should be a little more responsive on the live system. And so if I select, so the other action is reject. So by rejecting a referral, you kind of see get the idea of where it goes once you reject it. There's a couple different options here that I can select when I'm rejecting it. I can say they do not meet eligibility requirements. In the basic information that I receive here, I have their age and their household size and all that other stuff. I can say that we have no capacity for the service. When I select no capacity for the service, this part's important, that what happens is I will receive a pop-up to confirm, but what's going to happen is my service will be shown as no capacity to the system until someone goes in and edits the service and changes the status back to having capacity. My service will not appear in searches anymore once you say that it doesn't have capacity. So we're talking about some more options and turning on a waiting list, so you can still receive clients if they potentially, would be notified about going on to a waiting list. But for now, no capacity means your particular service does not show up in the search engine anymore. So you cannot have any referrals for that service. Not a service we offer or other. So depending on my choice, if I say not a service we offer, I can go in here and let looks like it was referred on this July 2nd. It was created by Kia, which is me. So I must have created it and sent it to Larissa. And I can say I selected not a service or offer. So in the notes, I would say I will update our agency service profile, and then submit it. And what's going to happen is that it's going to be sent back to that agency, and they'll get a rejected referral up here, and the reason will be that, and then they'll see the notes that I put in there saying that I'm going to clean up our service list. So that's how to handle accepted. That's how to handle new referrals. You accept or reject, and then further down you have your open referrals. So referrals that I accept will pop into my open referrals, and they're waiting to be closed. So these will they'll show me my latest status. This list is just your working referrals. Once they're closed, they'll be out of this list. So if I go into Betty, so the top of the list is Betty Johnson, who was requested referral on June 10th. So let's go to check out Betty Johnson's referral status. I can go into here and see Betty Johnson's client information from the way all the information that's been entered for the client. So I don't have a phone number there, but if there was a phone number for Betty Johnson, it would show up right here, and I'll show you where to put in the client information. So how to make this a little more useful. And then this is the service on the right side that they got referred to. If I can scroll further down, I can see their full referral history. And then at the top, I kind of skipped over the top, is the current status. So if I go into the status, I can click closed and put in some notes on I'm sorry, I called her Betty. It's actually Becky. I'm sorry about that, Becky. Spoke with Becky Johnson and provided services. So it's very basic information that you need to type in that actually does a lot for us when we're trying to look at the behaviors and how services are being handled, letting us know what the status is or why the status was changed, if you're closing it or if you're picking any other reason. As much detail as you can give in the notes would be very much appreciated. We're trying to learn how the system's going to be used, and learn how to make it better catered to you and your agencies and the staff of your agencies. So keeping it simple is good, but also putting in more detail is also great. We would appreciate any kind of notes. Leaving it blank we can't learn from that. So make sure you're typing in notes anywhere it asks you to type in notes. If it's specific to your agency, that's good. That makes sense. So I've clicked close and I typed in notes, and I'm going to click save here. And it is going to take me back to my referral queue. So if I scroll back down, I can see that Becky, I think? Becky Johnson, she's now gone from my open referrals. I can still look up Becky Johnson, and I'll get into how to look up clients in the next section, but let's do a recap. What I've done so far is from the referral queue, I showed you the notifications at the top, what they mean, and when you get them. The returned referrals, how to manage your return referrals. There's 2 actions you can complete on them. Scrolling down, I showed you what it means to get a new referral and the actions you can complete on them. And then even further down, new referrals, once they're accepted, become open referrals, and I showed you how to manage your open referrals. So I'm going to open it back up for questions. Does anyone have any questions on how to manage your referral queue? So the notifications, we're working on the notifications, and you'll see some adjustments in the live system now. We're playing with the timings and we're playing with the emails. So we're not trying to flood your inboxes with email, but we are trying to do kind of sooner notifications. We're closing down the range a little bit for certain notifications, so there's more activity during the pilot. So things might change after. If you're getting too many emails, send us some information. Let us know that you're getting too many emails, and we'll consider that. The idea is we only have a couple of I think it's like 6 or 8 weeks for the pilot, and when that starts to, so we want to make sure all notifications are happening inside that time frame, just so we can know if they're useful or not. And then after the pilot, we'll know better as to what to put those notifications as, and also what notifications there should be. So currently there's notifications to update profile information once it's not been updated for a while. I don't know why that happened on its own. I'm going to keep. I'm sorry about that. My start meeting has a mind of its own. Further down, I was just going to say, talking about the other notifications that we're playing with are, I kind of lost my train of thought there. You receive notifications when your agency profile is old. Oh, that's what I was going to say. When you reject a referral for no capacity reasons, that will also be a notification. Every week or so, you'll get a notification through email and in the system reminding you that you have a service that is not showing up in the search engine because you have it listed as no capacity. It says, hey, make sure if you have capacity again, you're not receiving any referrals while it's set up as no capacity. So you will be reminded on that periodically, as well as some other things that are important, so to keep the system being intuitive. Okay, so no questions on managing how to do a referral or creating a referral? Anything I've done so far? Good. So the next section is we'll get through this really quick since there's been no questions. I'm not trying to discourage questions. Of course, I want to hear if anyone has anything. I want to make sure I answer that. So the next section, I'm going to show you how to keep your profile information up to date. So let's go back to. Okay, so the next section is the admin pages. So I started over here with the Find Services, the Referral Queue, and now I'm at the Admin page, Edit Admin section. So I'm going to start at the very bottom of the agency information. So you've been noticing a lot of, you may have noticed, let me go back to the Referral Queue to point out some things. Actually, you'll see it, you'll notice it better if I go to the Find Services. I'm just going to find the service as fast as I can here. So for senior services, which I believe I'm logged in currently as senior services, so this will make perfect sense. I'm seeing this is the agency name, this is the service, and this is an address. This is an address for the service and not for the agency. So when you are creating your services in your system, you are specifying what the address is per service. It can be different than your agency information. And there's also contact information for the service. And the contact information can be specific to the service as well. So I'm going to kind of show you that breakdown, how it works. When I type in the search radius or I type in any of these other qualifier information, it is based on the service specifically and not the agency. So you can have different services, and for each service they can have their own qualifier information, eligibility info, and they can also have their own location, how they populate geography, how the geography works on the map. So I'm going to start with the agency info. And when I go to my agency details page, I see my agency form. Some information is typed in. Yes, I am logged in currently as Senior Services, Inc. So as Senior Services, I can see the address and other geographic information for the agency. This would be the agency headquarters, where that would be the information you put in here. There's a phone number too. This would be a front desk line that you're going to type in here, and you can see there's no phone number typed in, so I'll just put in a very useful 555 phone number. Website, again, that's just for if agency is trying to get more information about your agency, they can see your service profile or your agency profile, but they won't be able to see this on the service page when looking for service. A primary contact for your agency, we have it set up as Torek Brown, and you can change that. And these people have to be listed as staff members for your agency. I'll show you that in just a second. The status is important to keep an eye on. If your status is set as inactive, what that's going to do is it's going to basically, same thing as it being over capacity, except for this is on a higher level. This is saying the whole agency is not in the referral network and in services. All of the services for the agency will not be displayed if you're inactive. This is also one of the things where you will receive notifications when you're inactive. I think we have it set as every 7 days you'll receive a notification saying your agency is inactive. So there's more information about your agency, description, and you can even upload a logo. So I'm not going to save my changes here. Instead, I think it's fine. I don't think, I typed in a phone number. That's probably all I did. So yes, sure, I'll save my changes. Success. Back to the home page. Okay, so agency info, and the next thing I'm going to show you, I'm going to skip clients. I'm going to come back to this in a moment. The next thing I'm going to show you is the staff. So you want to make sure that all of your information is up to date. We gathered some preliminary information and started to input your information. I mentioned this in the beginning, and we put in all of your agency and just for the pilot members, we put in a lot of the agency information that we could gather, as well as staff and service info, but it might not be up to date. It will be different from what you're seeing here. Excuse me just for 1 second. Excuse me, sorry about that. So what I was just saying is make sure your information is kept up to date. If you are in the production side, you will see different information than on the test side, so don't be warned that there's some information here that's not right. I am, again, I'm doing this whole demo on our test application, so I don't affect any of the live data transfer that's happening over there on the live site. So the staff information, so far we have 2 staff members, Larissa and Torek. Staff is also how to create new users for the agency. So so keep in mind when you are on the staff page, what you want to do is you want to add any staff members that would be primary contacts for a service, because when we go next to add service, we'll be asked who the primary contact is, and they have to already exist in the system. And when you are creating any users for the system, anyone who is going to be creating referrals, adding clients, managing agency information, they need to be in the staff section. They need to be added under staff. So if I was Larissa or Torek and I had another staff member who wanted access to the system, you could just go to navigate to staff, click add new, and you're going to be shown a simple form. You're going to type in their first name. So I'll create one for Uriah, who's sitting with me right here. He's being very patient and quiet. Uriah Grady, and put in his real phone number. And that is his mobile, so feel free to call him right there on his mobile. And then I think it's Grady at Gmail. But you know what? I don't want to actually give him. I typed in Gmail wrong, so that's fine. So he's not going to get. So what the system is going to do is going to send an email to this email address. It's going to give him his credentials. If he wants to continue, he can activate his account and log in. But he doesn't have to. He is not mandated to do that. Maybe he is on a particular service, and I'm adding him to this just so I can pair him with the service. And putting his primary phone, this would be more efficient to put him as his office line if he's going to be paired with the service, because this information will be shown on the service search page. And we'll go back to that again after this section. And if there's a secondary phone, I would type that in here as well. So if I click Save, it might know that the email is bad. It did not know that. So now if I go to, okay, so it took me back to my staff page, and now I can see now we have 3 staff members, Larissa Torek and Uriah Grady, and I'll say, oh, you know what? Uriah Grady should not be a staff member. It's just as easy to remove him. Are you sure you want to remove the staff member? Yes. So by removing him, he is now not able to log in anymore, and he won't be associated with services anymore. So that's the staff page. And the next is the service page, service profile. So as you can see, as Senior Services has several pages of service information. So as services, each record is a different service that they offer. Each service, as long as they're not set up as overcapacity and the information is complete for each service profile, will show up in the Find Services search portion of the tool. So any agency looking for a service, any of the services that I offer, they'll be able to find these services by either typing in the name of the service type, by typing in a keyword that has been defined in the back end. Every service has hundreds of keywords associated with it, and that's an ever-growing list. Or they can type in the name of my agency, or it could be based on geography and other eligibility information. So these are services that currently exist. I can scroll through the pages by clicking down here. I can also show more. If you have a bigger screen than I do, you can show more at a time on the page at the top. You can also click on one of the arrows to sort the screen by that service or by that field. So if I click this, I can see that all of my services are not set to overcapacity, and I can change the alphabetical ordering of them. But all this information is the same over here: primary contact, overcapacity, and counties that we service. So it doesn't visibly change So, okay, let me go and edit to AARP tax aid program sites. When you're editing a service, all you do is click the name of the service, and it's going to show you the service details. Service details looks exactly the same as adding a service. So I'm only going to be on this page one time. I'm not going to show you what the difference is adding a service because it looks just like this. So the address, this is the specific address for the service and not the agency now. So if you have different locations or different locations the service is provided for or provided in, and this is the primary location of the service, so that's on the left side there. City, state, zip code. This information is, as you can see, there's an asterisk. This is required. In order for the search engine to be able to match, be able to show based on search radius, you have to have that information in there complete. Further down, you'll see the primary contact. Oh, and your iGrady still exists in there. He hasn't really been deleted from the system yet. So these are 3 different primary contacts that I can choose for this service. I obviously wouldn't want to pick someone who I just deleted because they're going to be gone soon. So I'm going to pick Larissa or Toric. I think it was already set up as Toric, so I'll leave it as that. Service. So again, the Toric's contact information will be seen on the service search page when another agency staff member is searching for the service and finds the service. They'll see his phone number and extension, and if there's a secondary information, it'll be there too. So the service description is any more information that you think is important that needs to go on, they can describe what the service is and what the service does, would go in the service description. As much information you want to put there is great. It will be seen again on the search engine. On the right side, I'm going to start at the top of the right column. Service category, again, there's an asterisk. This is required. There is a whole flurry of categories that you can choose from, and based on the specific category you choose, your service type list will change. So I picked communication, and I actually don't remember what this one was. I think, this was I don't remember what it was, but I'm not going to save my changes. It's okay. And I'm just showing you if I change it to legal, there's a lot more legal service types in there. If you have a service type that does not exist in the system, it's pretty wide range of service categories and types that exist. But if for some reason we missed your service type, let us know. We will add it right away. So that's the service categories and types. So each category and type has a list of keywords that the search engine will use to help identify that type and that category and find your service in the system. Further down, I see the service county. The county is the you can select more than one county. And what that means is you're selecting counties that you provide these services in. So if a client lives in Berry County, but your service is in Kalamazoo, but you also assist clients whose residence is Berry County, you want to select both of those counties on the right side. Because if a client lives in Berry County and you don't have them listed in this county box, then they're not gonna find that when an agency is looking for services for that client, they're not going to find your service if you don't have the county listed. Hope I explained that well. Next down is the overcapacity status. This is what gets automatically set if you choose if you reject and you say I'm rejecting referral based on overcapacity. This is what will automatically be set to yes. And next down is eligibility information. If there is eligibility specific to your service, this is where you put that information in. And these two will be based on logic, so if they need to be a certain age or more, you put the age limitation in here. And further down is notes. The notes won't be handled logically by the search engine. However, the notes will be displayed to any staff member who is finding your service. It'll say they also need to, maybe there's 3 other specific custom eligibility fields. You can just type in what they are as 3 separate lines right into the notes, and the notes will show up on the search engine as well, so it'll provide a little bit more information, some insight into what the eligibility requirements are for the other staff members referring a client to your service. So that's how to edit and add a service at the same time. You would click Save when you're done with your changes. I have been kind of rambling and putting in who knows what information, so I'm just going to click Cancel. So I don't want to save any of my changes. I'm going to be taken back to my, I'm going to go back to my service page. This was what I was, an AARP tax aid program, and that was a service type. So you can see a snapshot of that, and what I did is I clicked into there to show the service type. What I've done so far is I've shown you agency info, client. I haven't shown you client, actually. I'm going to show you that next. I've shown you agency information, how to keep that up to date, staff information, how to create users and create staff who will be primary contacts for your services and agency, and I've shown you service information. Service information is imperative. It's imperative. If I didn't mention this, if you learn one thing from this meeting, from this webinar, it is to make sure to, when you log into your system for the first time, you go to your services and you make sure all of the services that we have put in for you are accurate. The address information, the contact information, the service type, you want to make sure it's accurate, because we put it in based on some information we gathered, but spend some time going through all the pages of services that you have and clicking each one to go into the details and make sure all the information inside of there is accurate and reflective. It's reflected accurately. This is what drives the Find Services, the portion of the referral tool. So next I'm going to show you clients. So I think we had a client called Becky Johnson who we accepted and closed the referral for. So I'm going to see 5 entries of clients, and I see Becky Johnson at the top because it's sorted alphabetically and it's set up by the first name currently, and I can change that here just by clicking this arrow. I can sort it by address, city, state. Again, for the pilot purposes, all staff across all agencies will be able to see all clients that have been created anywhere. So you can look up, you can add a client, you can look up a client, and you can see more information on that client. So I see Betty Johnson, and I'm going to click Betty Johnson's name, and I'm going to see the details information, or Becky. I keep saying Betty. Hope I'm not offending Becky Johnson, the non-existent person. So the client details, I have, this is when you're adding a client, it'll look the same way. This is the information that is going to be shared with an agency when you refer them. This is information that gets shared with them. So there's not a whole lot of information here, but it's just enough to make the referral usable. There's the phone number field. There's the phone number at the bottom. She didn't have a phone number before, so let me add a phone number in there for her. That way, when you're on other pages, you can see that there is a phone number. It looks like that there wasn't, just because no one filled it in. And say that's her home line. She doesn't have an extension. And I'm going to go through and make sure all the rest of the information is accurate. And then if I scroll further down, I can see all of the client's referral history. So I can see all the services that she was referred to, the service type, service category, and some basic information about the services that she's been referred to. I can also click on any one of these services to see the more detailed information about that service. I'll see who created the referral, where it was created, where it went, what the status was, when it was accepted, and any notes that was ever typed in. I would see all that information. So all that history is there on the client profile. The history does not exist when you're creating a new client, but all the fields at the top are exactly the same when you're creating a new client. So I'm going to click Save because I did add a phone number for Becky. I go back and see my clients list. Okay, so far I've shown you everything in the admin portion. So I'm going to open up here. So far what we've done is we've gone through 3 different sections. I've shown you how to create a referral from scratch. I've shown you how to manage incoming referrals and rejected referrals. And I've shown you how to manage your profile information under the admin menu and how to create new users and all that good stuff. So I am always open for questions. Do we have any questions on anything that I've gone over so far?
Email address.
Was that a question?
Well, was just wondering if it will have an email address availability at some point.
Email address for client information?
Yes.
We thought about that. Most of the clients that are currently being serviced didn't have. Did we put an email address? We don't have that. Do you communicate with your clients via email a lot?
Not a lot. We do if we cannot get them any other way.
Okay, that is an easy piece of information. We could definitely add that. It would not be a required field, but you're right. Maybe it would be another way to reach out if you can't get a hold of them and send them an email. Yeah,
do you have can there be more than one phone number available?
Yep, there sure can. We have 2 phone numbers available for staff members, so we can do the same for client information. That's a minor change. Do you think 2 would be sufficient?
I think that's it may be it'll give us a place for their maybe their caregiver a phone number, because sometimes they're in an AFC or something and we're trying to contact them with that.
Okay, that makes sense. But with caregiver, we want to think about that a little more. If you put in a caregiver phone number, then you need to have some more information about the caregiver. You know?
Yes. So far as a relationship, whether they're a daughter or son or neighbor, guardian.
Yeah. All that. All that would be, I think, useful information.
That would be a drop-down menu selection.
Of course. What else? What else would make this a little more useful? So
does this interact with other programs like VendorView or Compass?
It does not. And this is a standalone application. Currently, Elder Law is working on pulling reports from the system and seeing and talking to different parties to see how we could make this more usable and make it more efficient. But currently, it does not. It is totally powered by information that users enter into the system and maintain.
Okay.
But that's not to say that things might change next year. We don't. There's been talks of growing the system into several different directions, and a lot of exciting changes coming up with them. The whole purpose of the pilot is we want to learn more about how referrals are happening and if accepting referrals in a system like this makes sense. We're trying to keep it as lightweight as possible to not take a whole lot of agency time, but at the same time make it useful. So there's a balance there too.
Right.
So anyone else have any questions on anything we've been through so far?
Could there be a note field so there's something that you do need to note on there? Maybe that would be even the way to put in a caregiver phone number, that if you had a note field to... Mm-hmm.
Notes for the client, yeah, that would be, I could see how that would be useful. Yeah, sure, that's definitely, we can add that. So a lot of these are not big additions. Sometimes people might be a little bit afraid to say, I don't want to use the system yet because they're making changes. Well, a lot of the changes that we're making are very minor. And, going and using the system the way it is, do not be afraid to use it. It's still very usable. It doesn't affect anything. But, yeah, we are, throughout the pilot, we're getting feedback and we're rapidly making changes. So you'll be able to, we'll add those in straight away and hopefully make it a little bit more usable. But it's not required on here. I think the only thing that should be required in the client details is probably the phone number. There's been talks about leaving it open in case they don't have a way to contact them. They still want to submit a referral for them, but we'll see. We'll see how that conversation progresses.
Okay.
What else? So we have one more thing I want to show you, and then I'll open up for questions again. So let me just show you that. I'm going to go back. Okay, so back to the last section, and we saw this before, and I'm going to show it to you again. It's creating a referral, and you're going to be able to see it this time with a little bit more insight as to how the system works now that you've seen some of the back-end features. So if I type in, I just type in a partial word. I just typed in transpo, and I'm going to see, if I scroll down, I'm going to see different services that was a key word for. So if I scroll further on medical transportation, senior ride programs, and all kinds of good information there. So if I want to select this senior ride program, the information I see here is based on that agency's profile information. They typed in the address that was specifically associated with that service, a contact person for that service. They only had one phone number, and I can also email them for more information. As you can see, there is no eligibility information here. We'll find one that has some more eligibility information so I can point that out. So I select service. So here's a description. Here's a service that actually has a description for the service, transportation needs for senior citizens. That's a great description. Even more detail is also useful there. So I scroll further up, I can see the service that I had selected. I selected Community Action Senior Ride Programs. And now let me go to some home housing support. Is housing support what I want to do, or do I want to do in-home services? That's one of my favorite ones. Housekeeping assistance. So I typed in, the first thing I did is I typed in a search on the, I know I'm moving a little bit faster this time, but I typed in a search on the left side. I can use the search that way, or I can if I'm on a mobile device and I don't want to pull out the keyboard, I can just search I can scroll through the categories and pick a category. Depending on what category, there are subcategories underneath it. And then as you select a subcategory, you'll be shown different results. So I think I picked, what I click housekeeping assistance. That must have been what I clicked, because if I scroll down, I can see housekeeping assistance and all the different services nearby. Now, if I wanted a more narrow search, I can type in a search radius. I can type in a zip code, county, and eligibility information. Or I can even go into my folder and start by looking up a client. If I start with a client, so I have Christopher Lewis here from before. I never completed that, so let me clear out that Christopher Lewis. So if I start with a client and the client has eligibility information, when I'm searching for a service, I'll only be returned services that will logically match his eligibility information. So let me go back to Find Services and go back to my, scroll through here, in-home services. Housekeeping assistance has a subcategory. I'm just going to scroll down, and I can see that there's a contact person. I thought there was one here that eligibility. Here's qualifier information. This is custom qualifier information, 2-hour minimum Calhoun County. To be honest, I think that's specific to this agency's service, and they typed that in because we didn't have that information available on their profile. So that's what we see. A little bit more information would be useful, because I could interpret that, and a user, a different agency who doesn't know much about housekeeping assistance could interpret that a little differently. So more information there is useful. So you can see this is directly coming from their service profile information. This is coming from their contact information, and some other, if there was an agency logo, if anyone puts an agency logo, you would see the agency logo appear right there. So if I select that service, let's see, that's a good one. we're in our client's in Calhoun County, and now I have 2 selected there. If I go further down, there's some more information, and you can see it looks a little different depending on how much more information they type in. I'll show you something I didn't show you the first time around. If you're on a mobile device or a tablet, I'm going to pop out of full screen mode, and I'm going to narrow my screen down. So if I close, if I'm in this is a responsive design. So if you have a smaller screen, you can see the whole image changes. The whole flow of the site is the same, but the way that everything is formatted and the layout it kind of moves around responsively to match the screen size. And now all my menu buttons are in here instead of where they were before, because there's not enough room. So if I was on a mobile device or a tablet, it would look more like this. And you could use your finger to scroll through. Now I have a touch screen, so I can use my finger to scroll through here and see it's pretty usable on a mobile device or a tablet if you're out and working in the field. Go back to full screen, and it redraws itself to look better for my full screen view. So I have 2 services selected. Now let me click on Create Referral. And when I create my referral, I need to then look up my client. So I had Christopher Lewis looked up from before. It's because I clicked retry on a rejected service. Let's say this time there is a Snow, last name Snow, first name John. I can add a client if I want, but I just know that I am sitting with John Snow right now, and he needs these 2 services that we don't offer. So I'm going to get a verbal agreement from him that he agrees that it's okay for me to share his profile information, and I can show him his profile information if he requests it before agreeing. We know how to do that. We can go to Admin, Clients, and show him all the information that will be shared. The client has agreed to share data. I click that, and by clicking that, I get the Submit Referral button. If I didn't have that clicked, there's no Submit Referral button. Now again, this doesn't have to be a signature. It doesn't have to be any more than a verbal agreement between you and your client. And then you click Submit. It's as easy as that. Those 2 agencies now received John Snow's referral. They got a notification via email, and they also have a notification in their referral queue for a new referral from John Snow at this information. So this is his contact information, or his profile information. If John wants a copy of this, I can click Print, and you'll get a PDF that they can then print out. If you are done on this page, you can navigate away by clicking any other button, or clicking at the bottom where it says New Referral, or at the top where it says Find Services, or really any button. So now if I go back into my folder after I submitted that referral, it is totally, it still has John Snow for some reason. If I go back to Find Services, again, this is a test application. We've made a lot of changes in the production side and the live side where everyone's going to be working. So a lot of these little things have already been tweaked and fixed. So no worries there. So that's how to submit a referral again from scratch. And I'm going to show you. I'm going to pop out, and you can interrupt me if you want. Not lecture mode. So does anyone have any questions? There's one more thing I want to show you, but I'm going to keep it open in case you have any questions. Just interrupt me.
I do.
Hi.
Are there going to be fund codes available for like the different services and so on, so that you can actually have a report that says, well, this one is actually being paid for by the VA, or this one's being paid for by Medicare?
Who would you anticipate that report being for, or who would you see that being useful for?
The state when they're auditing.
That information that information would not go into this system.
Okay. I didn't know whether that would. Sorry.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I did have another question also. Would there be, like for the transportation, if you've got the participants' email in there where they would get, where we could have an option to send to them a non-reply type confirmation that if we were successful in setting up services with a particular transportation that's available to them, then send that an email that would save time for the supports coordinator, or in other areas also.
That's a great idea. You're thinking to send an email to the client?
Yes.
Confirm? Yeah, I think we weren't even thinking of putting client email information in there, but that's a great idea. That way they kind of get a little receipt, a little information, a summary of the information that happened that day when they were talking to the staff member at X agency. If they were referred to services, they could see what services they were referred to. It makes sense if they're going to expect a phone call. At least they know who their call is coming from. That's kind of the same idea we were trying to play with when we put the print button at the end of the referral, so they can print it and then hand it to the client. I think we've kind of been on the thought process that a lot of the clients that would be in the system don't really do email very well, so we kind of casted that thought out. But I think that's a great idea, and it would be very easy to do with the infrastructure we have set up. I'll definitely add that to the conversation for a list of things that we're adding going forward.
Okay.
Is this what agency do you work for?
Region 3B.
Region 3B, okay. That's a great idea, actually. Okay, so do we have any feedback at all? Actually, it doesn't have to be specifically what I went over. If you have any other questions on the system or potential feedback for the future, anything like that. So let me show you, while you guys ponder any other questions you may have, I'm going to show you the benefit screening side of it. If you happen to find the benefit screening in the services, this is the test, so it should still be up, right? So currently on the production side, there are some changes happening with the benefit screening this is the whole benefits access portion of the system that we have. So it's taken down right now. So I'm just kind of showing you briefly at the end, just as an afterthought, keep in your mind. There is a screening you can do. If you click that benefit screening option, you'll get taken to benefits access, and there's different options you can click here. If you want to help your client apply for one of these government funds, you can just click one of these options, and you'll be directed to the government website. So you'll be taken in a separate tab outside of the referral. It'll open up a new tab in your web browser. This tab won't go away. You'll stay here where you are. Or you can click Benefits Eligibility Screening and click Next, and you'll be taken to a more thorough, deeper, I think there's 3 or 4 pages, questionnaire process for answering these questions. At the end of the questionnaire process, you'll be provided with more services that your client is eligible for that you otherwise weren't able to uncover in just basic conversation with them. So there's logic built in to say, it's going to ask you, it's going to walk you through. So this isn't for the client to fill out. This is to help. This is basically questions you will ask the client and type in their responses. So once you type in their responses, I don't know if it'll let me go through the next page. If I say, yes, I want to start screening. Yep, so this is what the screening looks like. Are you a veteran? What type of health insurance do you currently have? Check all that apply, about how you pay for prescription medicine, and so forth. So there's a few pages. Uriah, do you know how many pages there are here?
At least 3 or 4 altogether.
It says at least 3 or 4 pages. And then at the end of the questionnaire process, you get provided with everything that your client is eligible for, and you can either send them that information, direct them towards that information. A lot of them are links, so a lot of things that will take you outside of the tool, but things that you would have otherwise not been able to uncover, like I said. And we're working on a way, hopefully in the near future, it will definitely be outside of the pilot, on how to incorporate everything a little bit better inside of the system so you're not navigated away, so you can do a lot of all these things inside the system, and it stays with the client, and that way if they ever needed to do another benefit screening, there's a lot of the questions are answered for you and so forth. So that's just a little alternate piece of the system that we're still developing and working on. Okay, well, I'm going to hang on the line. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to ask me any questions or any type of feedback you want to give. We are working on adding a feedback button to the system, and it would appear on one of the somewhere obvious on the screen. So you'll be able to click the feedback button, and if you're lost, or if you have a question, or if you think that something should be added to the system, then you can just go ahead and type in feedback, and then it'll be sent out to ardentCause, the company that developed the tool, and Elm will also receive it. And then we'll kind of add those things to the working list of tasks that we're going to think about moving forward with the tool. But thank you so much for joining me today. There's a user guide that will help you walk through everything that I've done today. If you do not have that user guide, you can reach out to either Larissa or myself, or I believe Bonnie would be able to help you, or Lori, if you have their email addresses, they could direct you to where that information was if you didn't get the email notification about this meeting that had those attachments on there. Also, we're going to be adding those to the bottom. The user guide will be a link at the bottom here, along with some other information, and we'll be adding that shortly. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm here if you have any questions. I'm going to hang on the line, so I'll probably be here until everyone's gone.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. I'm glad I was able to help. Hopefully I was. Highly encourage everyone to log in, activate their login, update their profile, and start using the system.
Okay. Sounds good.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I thought that went pretty well. Raya, what do you think?
I think it went very well.
It's always one of those, when you're doing a presentation like this or a webinar or training, technically what it is. It's confusing when people don't ask. It either means the tool is too intuitive, it's too easy to use, or everyone's totally lost. They don't even know where to begin asking the questions. But I think we've heard.
It's like most of the questions won't come or actually be developed until they start really using it and getting into it and know how to phrase their questions, what to ask, and what to get straight to.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think that's important for us to add that feedback button as the next thing we do, just so when people are using it, they can feel free to use it right away, and they don't have to feel like they have to wait too long to be able to talk to someone. Feedback button will just send us an email, and we'll be able to answer them right away. We probably have some inactive users in here. I think what do we plan for? 10:30 to 12. So I think we may, or 11. I'm sorry, 11. 10:30 to 11? No, it's 12. It's 12. It's 12. I'm surprised. I thought with one less person it would be a little less. We're still on that. So we have a couple participants left in here. I'm wondering if they're just away from their monitors, or they didn't know how to end the session right away. But Okay, thanks for everyone for joining. I'm probably talking to myself now, but I'm going to end the meeting. If you have any further questions, don't be shy to email me or email Larissa. We can answer any of the questions you have. Thanks again. So, oh wait, did I ever open the chat? I never opened the chat, but no one used it. So, okay, take care.